Hello everyone, you have come to Tata Comic Preview channel. This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Gu Yuesheng was suddenly stunned. He seemed to have thought of something and laughed out loud. Don't tell me I'm right. You're really hiding here to escape? Mr. Yu is outside? A look of great joy flashed across Situheng's face as he shouted, "Kid, let us go quickly, and maybe we can keep our lives. With the two of us pleading for you in front of Mr. Yu, we can definitely save your life." Yun Xiao's hair was disheveled, and his face was covered in blood, but his eyes were shining as if he was looking at a fool. He sneered and said, "What kind of place is this? Are you all pretending to be ignorant? Do you think I'll let you go? Also, do you really think that you're so important that you can speak in front of Mr. Yu?" Gu Yuesheng and Situheng's expressions changed drastically, as if they had lost all color. Could it be true? Situheng was shocked. How is this possible? Gu Yuesheng's hair stood on end as he cried out, Is this really the interior of Noah's ship? You, who are you? This transcendent grade profound level weapon actually fell into your hands. Not long after the two of them entered, they began to explore this spatial world. The more they entered, the more they felt that something was wrong. But that guess was too shocking, and he could not believe it. Now that it was confirmed by Yun Xiao, he was shocked beyond words. "You don't have to worry about that," Yun Xiao said. "Just tell me everything you know. Before I advance to the rank of a Marshal Supreme, don't even think about leaving this place. You don't need to worry about people from the outside coming in to take revenge. The cultivation resources here are not worse than the outside world. If you can cultivate to the peak of the Martial Supreme Realm, you can also break the rules of heaven and earth here and break through the void to get out." Then, his eyes turned cold and he said in a cold voice, "Of course, the premise is that you can live to that time. If I'm not satisfied, any moment can be the end of your lives." He raised his finger and pointed it forward. The power of the rules in the surroundings suddenly pressed down. Situheng and Gu Yuesheng felt their bodies being thrown out violently. They did not know how far they had flown. In the end, they crashed into the hard mountain with a loud boom, and their bones were almost broken. Gu Yuesheng opened his eyes and realized that they were no longer in the cave. Situheng had also disappeared without a trace. He was the only one left embedded in the stone wall. He had suffered internal injuries from the shock. Yun Xiao's voice came into his ears, "Let's start now. If there's any conflict between the two of you, I'll pull you into the spiritual world and cut you into pieces. Each cut will take 10,000 years." Gu Yuesheng's face turned pale. As a secret alchemist, he naturally knew how terrifying the spiritual space was. In the spiritual space, everything was controlled by the will of the other party. It was easy to make you feel the pain of being cut for 10,000 years with one slash. You've suffered for thousands of years in there, but in the realm of heavenly martial arts, it might only be a moment. When they recalled Yun Xiao's ability to summon them and change time and space with a finger, they were longer convinced that this was the legendary Noah's ship. He no longer had any thoughts of resisting and said dejectedly, "I don't know about Mr. Yu's situation, but I do know that he's a friend of my master." Yun Xiao's figure appeared in front of him as he said with a frown, "The one who's known as the crazy alchemist, Jie? Didn't he die many years ago?" Gu Yuesheng was shocked. He smiled bitterly and said, "So you even know about my master?" Yes, he was the crazy alchemist that everyone thought was dead. Because his research field was too brutal, it had been banned by the Sea of Soul Formation many times. But what kind of person is my master? He wouldn't listen to those boring orders. Instead, he's researching deeper and deeper. In the end, he was killed by the Sea of Soul Formation and was lucky enough to survive. I've been focusing on my research all these years. Yun Xiao sneered, "Crazy Jia is indeed a strange talent. I've seen him a few times before. This person was arrogant, unruly, and self-righteous. You don't know how to spend your energy on self-cultivation and always do these unorthodox things. I didn't expect you to still be unrepentant." But the Sea of Soul formation is indeed a little pedantic, he added with a slight frown. Gu Yuesheng was shocked. What did you say? You've seen my master? How was that possible? My master escaped from the Sea of Soul formation more than 30 years ago. You're not even 20 yet, don't talk nonsense. Yunxiao looked at him coldly and said, that's none of your business, let's talk about Mr. Yu. Who is he? How does he know your master? Why is he in the skeleton mercenary corps? Gu Yuesheng felt that the man in front of him was so mysterious that he was beyond his understanding. He was not even 20 years old yet, but he already had such a level. In the entire heavenly martial continent, he was afraid that there was no other person like him. A sense of powerlessness arose in his heart, and he said bitterly, Mr. Yu is the high priest of the monster race. What? Yunxiao's pupils constricted as he said in horror, how is that possible? Wasn't the high priest of the monster race suppressed in the Five-Cloud Mountain by Gu Qingqing thousands of years ago? Moreover, the inheritance of the great priest must be passed down through the same line. Without the strength of a predecessor, it is impossible to become the great priest of the monster race. Gu Yuesheng looked stunned and said, you know so much. I'm not sure about this either. He had only heard his master say this before. As for how they got to know each other, it was you who came to us. Birds of a feather flock together, he suddenly laughed. They're both abnormal. Yunxiao nodded and said, that's true. Your master specializes in collecting organs, and that you specializes in collecting blood. They are indeed two freaks. They are a very good match. They're probably together for some perverted research. Gu Yuesheng laughed. That's right. The two of them have been discussing with each other for half a year. They have done countless experiments and it seems that they have gained a lot. As he said this, his face turned slightly pale, and he seemed to be a little ferocious. Yunxiao gave him a sympathetic look and said coldly, Yuesheng, you must be one of the test subjects for the past 6 months. Gu Yuesheng's expression changed drastically and he began to tremble violently. His eyeball burst open and became bigger and bigger. Blue veins covered his forehead. The entire immemorial heaven's eye occupied half of his face and revealed a fierce look. He roared ferociously, you know nothing. I'm willing to be a test subject. With this primordial heaven's eye, you can practice Gu Feiyong's pupil technique and have a chance to become a great alchemist. The strange pupil in the immemorial heavenly eye suddenly shrank and an overbearing spiritual power shot out of it, rushing into Yunxiao's mind. Yunxiao's face was extremely calm. One of his pupils instantly turned into a blood-red crescent moon, and rows of tadpole-like characters emerged around it and spread toward his eye socket. They were the scriptures of the Great Expansion divine technique. The space around them turned and Gu Yuesheng's mental attack disappeared without a trace. You're a coward. Gu Feiyong's pupil technique, moon deficiency. He cried out in fear, his eyes filled with disbelief. He roared madly, how come you also know Gu Feiyong's eye technique? Who are you? I should be the only one in the world who knows this pupillary ability. You don't have the immemorial heaven's eye, so how are you able to use it? Yunxiao looked at him coldly and muttered to himself, this immemorial heaven's eye is indeed interesting. Perhaps I can find an opportunity to improve myself. When I return to the 9th step, it seems I'll have to find that crazy Jia and do some research. After he finished speaking, he disappeared. Gu Yuesheng was completely dumbfounded. He had heard Yunxiao's words just now. Other than his pale face, cold sweat was pouring down. His mind was almost blank. His mouth was dry as he repeated the sentence, wait until we return to, after level 9, then we'll go back. Yunxiao had also gotten some information from Sito Hang, and he had a certain understanding of Mr. Yu, but it was still very vague. I hate the divine body of 9 Sun, High Priest, and the skeleton mercenaries. Could it be that something has happened to the 5-Cloud Mountain, and the demons can come out now? Yunxiao was taken aback by his own guess. Looking at the unconscious Yunxiang in front of him, he murmured to himself, if that's the case, then we're in big trouble. He could have killed Yunxiang, so why did he let her go? What did she inject into Yunxiang? The surging aura in Yunshang's body is getting stronger and stronger, and it has already surpassed the average martial grandmaster. He worriedly sent his divine sense to Yunshang's body, only to sense a strong positive yang qi emanating from her, and the red light on her body was getting stronger and stronger. This was the phenomenon of a divine body. This process was extremely similar to the gradual awakening of a god body. This is all I can do to help you. It'll depend on your own fortune to what extent you can reach. Divine body of 9 yang, I look forward to the moment you become powerful. Then, you'll become the stepping stone for the rise of our monster race. Yunshao recalled what Mr. Yu had said before he left and asked suspiciously, "Is you really helping Yunshang? How is this possible?" A few days ago, he was in a hurry to kill the divine body of 9 yang, but now he wanted to cultivate Yunshang. What was going on? Could it be related to the great demons in the cave? Who knows how long those demons have been in the cave? Why didn't you report such an important matter to the Misty Snow Sacred Domain? Yunshao felt that things were getting more and more complicated. He muttered to himself, if something really happened to the Five Cloud Mountain, the ancient martial empire would be in a state of chaos. His third disciple, Jun Ryun, was the Fuma of the ancient martial empire. The mission of the ancient martial kingdom was to guard the Five Cloud Mountain. He thought about it with all sorts of messy thoughts, but he still had no clue. He finally gave up and set aside his thoughts to stand guard beside Yunshang. In this divine realm tablet, even if there was an unexpected situation, he was confident that he could handle it. The strange phenomenon on Yunshang's body grew stronger and stronger, and the entire cave was filled with a red light. Yunshao felt extremely comfortable in it, and the strength in his body was constantly increasing. He suddenly thought of Meng Bai. The heaven and earth poison body was also a kind of divine body, which could be directly transformed into energy and absorbed by his one qi of creation technique. He did not expect that the 9 yang phenomenon seemed to be almost there. He absorbed it carefully, and it seemed to be more powerful than the poison in Meng Bai's body. Yes. Suddenly, a soft and gentle voice came out of Yunshang's mouth. Yunshao was taken aback. He hurried forward to check, only to find a powerful positive yang energy surging out, preventing him from approaching. Luo Yunshang's whole body was red as if she was on fire, and she looked like she was in great pain. Did she suffer from the backlash of his divine body, just like Meng Bai? Yunshao immediately realized that Yunshang's body could not withstand such a powerful 9 yang true qi at the moment. What did you give her? He quickly circulated the qi creation technique and absorbed a large amount of 9 yang genuine qi into his body, turning it into his own genuine qi. His cultivation level continued to increase. However, his face grew uglier and uglier, thinking that his absorption speed was far slower than the release speed from Luo Yunshang. If anything happens to Yunshang, I'll definitely wipe the monster race from the heavenly martial realm. Yunxiao's face was as cold as ice, and his killing intent soared. He wasn't a kind person to begin with. This existence who dominated a region and shook the world had killed many people. There were cases of people getting angry and annihilating an area every day. As time passed, Yunshao absorbed a large amount of 9 yang true qi and advanced 1 star directly, stepping into the realm of 8 stars martial king. However, Luo Yunshang was in a coma, and no one could come within 10 meters of her. Yunxiao's face was so dark that water was about to drip out, and his fists were clenched so tightly that they were trembling. When something like this happened again, he was unable to protect the people around him. He could only watch helplessly as they fell into danger one by one. It was the same for Meng Wu and her brother, as well as Yunshang. This was all because he was too weak. Even if he had a peerless profound artifact like the Divine Realm Tablet, he was still unable to protect the person he wanted to protect. His eyes were completely red, and his killing intent gradually condensed outside his body, forming a purplish-black aura. It spun around him like a whirlwind, isolating the 9 yang genuine qi, as if the god of killing had descended. Suddenly, Yunshao was taken aback. He raised his hand slightly, and the purple-black killing intent pointed forward, immediately opening a gap in the 9 yang true qi, but it soon closed again. His killing intent might not be as solid as Mr. Yu's, but it was still the legendary Ramayana. That's right, although the 9-yang true qi is a supreme power, it's still just a power attribute. Just like Meng Bai's body poison, Ramayana, which is condensed from killing intent, and Dijia's black demon qi, they are all far stronger than ordinary vital qi, just like the various mutated elements. Yunshao muttered to himself, since my bright moon divine body can purify Ramayana, this mutated power should be able to be purified as well. A look of surprise flashed across his eyes. He hurriedly circulated the power of his divine body. White light balls of different sizes began to appear on the acupuncture points all over his body. They were like night pearls of the East Sea. They began to emit light and connect with each other. A beam of white light burst out of his body, followed by a second, a third, and every beam of light streaked across the sky and connected together above him, illuminating a pure space that continued to expand. This was the divine body phenomenon of the bright moon body 24 moonlit bridges. Sure enough, as soon as the strange phenomenon of his divine body appeared, the 9-yang genuine qi gradually spread out under the illumination of the white light, turning into the purest power and spreading in all directions. The result overjoyed Yunshao, but at the same time, he was shocked beyond words. His divine body had been acquired, and it was much weaker than the innate divine bodies of Luo Yunshang and Meng Bai. However, this divine body's abnormality could purify all mutated powers. It was simply the nemesis of all divine bodies. Who created the inheritance of the bright moon divine body? There's never been any record of such a talented person in the history of the continent. The appearance of the body refining technique on the continent was also in the era when all kinds of innate divine bodies exerted great power. In order to reach the same realm, those post-celestial martial artists continued to develop all kinds of body refining techniques. Through various kinds of physical cultivation, they hoped to achieve the same effect as the divine body. Some of the outstanding ones had indeed done it. They had even cultivated to an existence that surpassed the divine body and created a new path of martial arts. When cultivated to the peak realm, the imperishable golden body, one could punch through the void and shatter the earth with one's feet. The rules of heaven and earth would completely integrate into the body and suppress any divine body. The inheritance of the bright moon divine body should be a product of that era. It's just that there were too few people who could obtain the inheritance, so it was buried in history. Yunshao began to analyze the situation and said, this 24 moonlit bridges only has the effect of purifying foreign energy, it's still far from being able to compare to the imperishable golden body. The inextinguishable golden body is an existence that has fused with the laws of heaven and earth and can suppress all powers. Suddenly, he felt that he had been too greedy. He had not paid any price and was not satisfied with the benefits he had obtained for no reason. However, on second thought, he had gambled 2 billion medial-grade primordial stones for it, so it could not be said that he had not paid anything at all. He gathered his thoughts and began to continue purifying the 9-yang genuine qi. When the white light enveloped her body, her pained expression gradually eased and turned into a peaceful one. Although the 9-yang genuine qi had been purified, its pure power still existed. It kept gushing out and gradually merged with the moonlight. The light in the entire cave turned pale red, enshrouding the two. The change surprised Yunshao and made him scratch his head. Although he was a peerless martial sovereign, there were not many things in the world that he did not know. However, a divine body was a 1 in a million existence, so he didn't know much about it without coming into contact with it. At this moment, he didn't know what was happening, but he felt that the fusion of these two forces seemed to affect the changes in his body, and his strength was constantly increasing. As long as Yunshang is fine. He sat down calmly and began to cultivate in this power. The circulation of the vital qi in his body was even more rapid than when he had only absorbed the 9-yang genuine qi. After an unknown period of time, Yunshang finally gradually woke up. She looked around in surprise and immediately remembered what was going on. She saw that Yunshao seemed to have entered a magical state, and her body had a strange feeling. She used her inner vision to check her cultivation level and was shocked. She almost screamed. It felt like her entire body was filled with power. Every single move she made felt like there was a huge amount of power surging within her body. With this power, she was finally convinced that she had stepped into the 6 Directions Martial Grandmaster realm without a doubt. What did that person feed me? It's like some kind of blood that has allowed me to advance so much. What does he want to do? Yunshang was very puzzled. She glanced at Yunxiao, who was still meditating, and a sweet feeling welled up in her heart. At this moment, in this strange atmosphere, only the two of them were left in the world. They sat facing each other. This was the first time she had looked at each other so closely, admiring every corner of his face. She was a little dazed. Lord Gu Feiyang, please. Yunshang cried out softly in her heart. She was willing to sit quietly like this forever, to be a little bird by his side forever. Let time stop at this moment. Suddenly, Yunxiao opened his eyes, and a divine beam as bright as mist and lightning flashed across the quiet atmosphere, startling Yunshang. She was jolted out of the lovesickness, and her face flushed with embarrassment. Yunxiao smiled. Are you all right? Yunshang did not dare to look into his eyes. She lowered her head and nodded a few times, then gave a soft Looking at her expression, Yunxiao knew what she was thinking. He smiled wryly and said, "It's not the time to think. Hold your breath and release your god body's energy. My bright moon divine body and your 9 yang divine body seem to have undergone some strange changes. Don't you feel that the power in the surroundings is extremely strange?" Only then did Yunshang release her divine sense and quickly felt the strange power. Under this power, her body not only felt very comfortable but also benefited greatly. Yunxiao asked in surprise. You didn't notice? Luo Yunshang's face turned even redder. She lowered her head, her eyes filled with resentment as she thought to herself, I'm going to kill you. It's all because I'm looking at you. This should be the fusion of the two divine bodies by chance, Yunxiao said. I don't know how long it can last, and I don't know when it will happen again. You should hurry up and cultivate now. 1 minute is equivalent to 1 day. Yunshang bit her lips slightly and sat down cross-legged to cultivate. It took her a long time to enter a meditative state. The two of them sat face to face, their auras constantly surging out and merging with each other. At this moment, it was not only their auras, but their hearts and minds seemed to gradually connect. Without the phoenix's wings, their hearts were connected. The moment their souls touched, their hearts trembled. They immediately woke up from that strange feeling. The power of their divine bodies was also affected. They could no longer stabilize and gradually began to reject each other.